Hi everyone, and welcome back to my watercolor studio. Today I want to talk to you about the most important thing of watercolor, and that is, one, it is a transparent medium and we want to make sure we let it paint itself. We want to let the water, the medium of water, move the pigment around our surface as opposed to us moving it around too much. Because what happens is when we move it around too much, we get what is called mud. We lose the different qualities of our pigments and they blend in so much that we get a very nondescript color, and we generally call this mud because it doesn't have anything that is it doesn't have anything that you can sort of say, well, that's a red, that's a yellow. It's more like it's a icky brown color. And with watercolor, because it's transparent, we really want to utilize that transparent nature of watercolor so that there is a light feeling to our paintings. We have this sense of light in our work. So I'm going to do a small demonstration on what I mean by letting watercolor, the water, move the pigment around. So I'm going to use a small jar of water, and I'm going to use 3 different colors. I'm going to use a red, which is an alizarin crimson, a lovely transparent medium, paint. A Hanasa yellow, which is also a lovely transparent paint, and a phthalo blue. It's also a lovely transparent paint. We do have some opaque paints in watercolor, but mostly our paints are lovely transparent or semi-transparent paints. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to mix my water like this, and I'm going to imagine it's like a pool, or I'm putting down a bunch of water onto my surface, and then I'm going to drop paint onto that surface. So like, if I spin it around, like in a pond, if I come along and I drop some sediment, so I'm going to drop some pigment, which is sediment, and I'm going to drop that into my water, and as you can see, it's starting to move and float downwards. Can you see that color? It's moving with the water, it's moving where the water is, and it's moving around and it's doing its thing. It's dancing around the water. Now I can come along, and while it's still there, I can drop in a different color. So I can drop in some yellow. And then now these 2 colors are starting to mix by themselves. I haven't mixed anything. I've just dropped some color into my paint, into the water, and they're moving around and they're mingling and they're merging with each other, and the sediment, the pigment, which is sediment like in a pond, is sinking down towards the bottom of the surface, bottom of the jar. I can come along and now add a bit of blue into that, and it too is going to do the same thing. It's going to move around and start sinking down. Now this is what happens on our paper. So we have our water, and then we put the pigment into the water, and it starts to sink down, and the water stays on top and evaporates. And so then the pigment sinks into the surface and colors our paper. So if I think, like, I still have lots of lovely light, you can see through that water. You can still see light bouncing around. The colors have mingled around a bit. Now imagine if I was a little kid with gumboots on and I go racing through that water, and I am just going to splash around in that water, and what happens, like in a pond, it gets very muddy. All the sediment that has started to fall to the bottom of the pond has now been moved around, agitated, and it's mixing in together. So if I did that in this thing and did that, I now have a color that isn't very nice. Now if I had more blue in there, more blue and a bit more yellow, because that was a bit reddish, I'm now creating different muddy sort of things. This is a green mud. This is a red mud, and my colour has become quite indistinct and quite icky. It doesn't have, light is not getting through it, and it is now quite a dead colour. And this is what we want to avoid with our watercolours. So what we want to do is we want to basically put water down on our surface and drop pigment in and let it mingle by itself on the surface. I'm going to show you a little bit of a video on that on another date, and I'm going to show you how you're going to let watercolours mingle by themselves, and we're going to create a beautiful, lovely painting. But I wanted to show you that this muddy, icky, pigment-based muck is what we want to avoid with our watercolours. I hope that this has been quite helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week. Bye.